What's up, everyone? So today we have a question from Isaiah Tapia who asks about if you can find local vendors on Dread. And for those of you who don't know, Dread is a darknet forum, basically, almost at a darknet market. It's a darknet forum that basically connects everyone. It's one of the most popular ones that are out there. There are definitely alternatives that people use, but it's one of the more well-known. That's primarily because it has a very close association with Reddit. So a lot of people who have been on Reddit for a while, they kind of can hop on it and feel kind of at home because it kind of has that layout and interface kind of going for it. But to answer your question, if you find a local vendor on Dread or anywhere else that is on the darknet, I would suggest that you hopefully you're using Tails, shut down, you wipe everything, and you just if you meet a local, if you have that ability to find out that one of your vendors or vendor there is local, that means that you've either given him your information, your actual address, or he's given you his. And for you to give him yours, I mean, that happens with every sale, right? Maybe not yours, but your drop or whatever it is. So if that's the case, and he's like, oh wow, like I saw your address and it says you're from SoCal. I don't know. What's up, man? I'm from San Diego. I'd be like, oh, that's cool, and then I would hop off and I would consider that address burnt, and I would never use that vendor again. And I would switch up my screen name and everything associated with that. I would crush any wallets that I had that were associated with that, and walk away from all those sock puppets that you may have that are centered around that account. You should never discuss any of that kind of stuff, which means if you get to the point where that's actually a topic of discussion, there's been a massive information security, breach, basically, that either you caused yourself or that darknet vendors is doing, playing fast and loose with security. So to answer your question, you shouldn't. If you do, and that's not the case, it isn't a vendor you've already bought off of multiple times that's saying this to you, like, oh, hey, what's up, man? Where are you from? I'm from SoCal, or I'm from California, or I'm from Michigan, or whatever. That should never be a casual topic of discussion about where they're from, where you're from, any of that kind of stuff. And when information is exchanged that has to do with things like location, it's encrypted, and it's not just something that you leave up to the site that you're using. That's something that you do manually with that vendor's public PGP key. You encrypt your address, your info, or your drop. If you're using a drop, which hopefully you are, then you do that. I think I like the concept of using a drop, of using a secure location that isn't where I live. It's a lot of people see it as security 101, but I know a ton of people who don't. And that's because at the end of the day, you have built into this system plausible deniability. If you've done your OPSEC right, if you understand who your adversary is and how they work, by how they do controlled deliveries and all that stuff, way off track. All right, so pulling it back in, you shouldn't know where your darknet vendor is located. You might see, when you get a package, you're going to see a return address, but it doesn't mean that's their home address. There are some idiots that have, believe it or not, have actually used their home address. If you're interested in that, I think it was in the last episode of Darknet Demystified, but I could be wrong. And I remember going through the court documents, and I just couldn't believe that this guy was shipping Fent with his real address, his real return address. And then we switched it up later on and made it 3 units over from where he was. It's absolutely ridiculous. But it just goes to show that like you really can have it sent to your own address if you're having it sent to your address. If you're a darknet vendor and you're sending it out and you're using your own address as a return address, then you're just an idiot, and you're gonna have a very short lifespan in terms of being a darknet vendor, which is probably a good thing because you won't have much weight when you actually get popped. So that's my answer to that. Is you're not going to find that, and you're not going to want to find that, and no one. That's not going to be a real discussion that actually takes place. And if it is, you're probably talking to law enforcement. That's why I said, like, I would burn my wallet, I would burn the sock puppet account that I was using as a buyer if that happened to me. All those things I would terminate immediately. So I hope that answered your question, and try to stay away from anyone who talks about finding local dealers on the dark net, because that's a really massive red flag.